Welcome to U.S. Briefing. The content of the briefing includes Glen Matlock, I know full well that Sid didn't kill Nancy. Progressives are deluded to march for Palestine. Matt Gaetz denies House Speaker turmoil may hinder response to Israel. The international victims of Hamas assault on Israel. Israel amassed troops in the West Bank. Then Hamas attacked from Gaza. Glen Matlock, I know full well that Sid didn't kill Nancy. Telegraph. Glen Matlock, former bassist for the Sex Pistols, has expressed his disappointment with the recent Disney series Pistol, directed by Danny Boyle. The series depicted Matlock as having been fired from the band in 1977, whereas he insists that he left of his own accord. Matlock has also taken issue with the way the show played with the truth in general, and characterized him as an overly devoted fan of the Beatles, his love of whom was supposedly the reason for his departure, when that was not the case. Matlock has also expressed annoyance at the series' portrayal of his old rehearsal space in the Denmark Street guitar shop in Soho. Although the space was tiny, Boyle turned it into a cavernous space. Matlock says he feels a bit betrayed by Boyle but will say no more on the matter. Progressives are deluded to march for Palestine. Telegraph. The intersectionality movement in the U.S. has made Israel a central focus, leading to criticism of the country by groups such as Black Lives Matter and the Women's March. This has positioned Israel as a powerful yet unimportant entity, even as calls for its destruction become more prominent. The narrative of Jews as aggressors and Arabs as victims is deeply entrenched among progressives, and universities have responded by limiting pro-Israel speech and adopting boycott, divestment, and sanction platforms. The author concludes that there is no common ground between the Palestinian cause and other social justice movements. Matt Gaetz denies House Speaker turmoil may hinder response to Israel. The Independent. Republican Representative Matt Gaetz has dismissed concerns that the House's current lack of leadership could hinder the U.S.'s ability to send aid to Israel, insisting there is no ask from Israel that we are unable to meet. Gaetz, who introduced the motion to vacate Kevin McCarthy, leading to his ousting as Speaker, replied that Secretary of State Antony Blinken had rejected that premise. The international victims of Hamas assault on Israel. BBC. A number of foreign nationals have been killed or are missing following the recent violence between Israel and Hamas. 9 U.S. citizens, 1 Canadian, 1 British citizen, at least 8 French citizens, 12 Thais, 10 Nepalese, 1 German-Israeli, 1 Cambodian, 1 Beijing-born Chinese-Israeli, 3 dual Brazilian-Israeli nationals, 2 Paraguayans, 1 Mexican, 1 Irish-Israeli, and 2 Tanzanian students have been affected. Several countries have been working to locate and provide assistance to their citizens, with some offering support to evacuate them from the conflict zone. Israel amassed troops in the West Bank. Then Hamas attacked from Gaza. Washington Post. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been accused of allowing military preparedness to deteriorate alongside Palestinian militant escalation as he pursued a contentious plan to weaken Israel's judiciary. Critics argue that Netanyahu's Gaza containment strategy has been destroyed by recent events. On the weekend, hundreds of Palestinian militants attacked Israel's multi-billion-dollar border fence. The Israeli military had assessed that Hamas had no appetite for another conflict, a line that was repeated by trusted media figures. Netanyahu's Gaza policy has been criticized for being based on the assumption that Hamas would take care of Gaza. This, it was argued, would allow Gaza to prosper, with the relatively small price that Israel paid every so often, with a round of violence in which Israel would kill thousands of Palestinians and Palestinians would kill dozens of Israelis. The shock to the system caused by the recent attacks has led some to call for a full reoccupation of Gaza. As the country teeters on the brink of a long and bloody war in Gaza, the capacity of Israel's military, long revered as a source of stability, suddenly feels like a question mark. Authoritarianism expert has a warning about Nikki Haley. The Independent. Nikki Haley, a Republican presidential candidate, has refused to say whether Donald Trump should be disqualified from the GOP's 2024 nomination after he suggested that the outgoing chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff should be executed for treason. Haley called Trump's comments irresponsible but did not say whether she believes they are disqualifying. Experts warn that Haley's refusal to condemn Trump's violent rhetoric signals a growing tolerance for authoritarian violence within the Republican Party. Israel doesn't care about collateral damage, bunker busters used in Gaza. Al Jazeera. Israel has reportedly used bunker buster bombs in its recent attacks on the Gaza Strip. Bunker busters are powerful weapons that are capable of destroying buried, hardened targets. They burrow into the ground before detonating, and they can be used to attack underground tunnels and facilities. Israel's Air Force has a focus on attacking and destroying underground tunnels, and it has a wide range of increasingly sophisticated munitions at its disposal. The use of bunker busters allows the Israeli army to attack Hamas from a distance without risking their own forces. KSI, from class clown to YouTuber who has changed the face of boxing. The Independent. The Independent provides an overview of Olajide Olatunji, better known as KSI, the popular British YouTuber, rapper, and boxer. The article highlights KSI's rise to fame on YouTube, where he gained a following by filming himself playing FIFA. He then transitioned to music, releasing his first rap song in 2015, which was followed by numerous EPs and 2 studio albums. The article also covers KSI's foray into boxing, where he fought fellow YouTuber Joe Weller in his first amateur match and later fought Logan Paul in a professional rematch. The author notes that while many boxing fans criticized KSI and Paul for making a mockery of the sport, their fights attracted a new audience and exposed established boxers to a wider fan base. The article also mentions KSI's entrepreneurial ventures, including the launch of his own promotion company, Misfits Boxing, and the creation of an energy drink called Prime. The article concludes by discussing a recent controversy involving KSI's use of a racial slur in a YouTube video and his subsequent apology and visit to a mosque for education. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 Degrees world, here to bring you the latest news and add my own unique perspective. So, let's dive right in. First, we had Glen Matlock, former bassist for the Sex Pistols, expressing his disappointment with the recent Disney series Pistol. Apparently, the show didn't portray him accurately, and he feels a bit betrayed. Well, Glenn, I can understand your frustration. After all, who wants to be depicted as a Beatles fan when they're not? But hey, at least you're famous enough to have your story told on TV. So, chin up. Moving on, we have the intersectionality movement in the US focusing on Israel, with groups like Black Lives Matter and the Women's March criticizing the country. It seems like Israel has become a controversial topic, with calls for its destruction becoming more prominent. Now, I'm no expert, but it seems like there's a lack of common ground between the Palestinian cause and other social justice movements. Maybe we need to find a way to bridge that gap, or maybe we just need a really big bridge. Next up, we have Republican Representative Matt Gaetz denying that the House Speaker turmoil will hinder aid to Israel. According to Gaetz, there is no ask from Israel that the U.S. is unable to meet. Well, that's good to know, Matt. I guess we can all rest easy knowing that the aid will keep flowing, regardless of who's in charge. Crisis averted. Now, let's talk about the recent violence between Israel and Hamas. It's a tragic situation, with a number of foreign nationals being affected. From Americans to Brits to Thais, it's a truly international affair. Countries are working to locate and assist their citizens, and some are even offering support to evacuate them from the conflict zone. It's heartening to see countries coming together to help their people, but wouldn't it be great if we could all come together to prevent these conflicts from happening in the first place? Speaking of conflicts, it seems like Benjamin Netanyahu's Gaza policy is coming under fire. Critics argue that his containment strategy has been destroyed by recent events, and some are even calling for a full reoccupation of Gaza. It's a tough situation, and the capacity of Israel's military, once seen as a source of stability, is now being questioned. Who would have thought that a tiny strip of land could cause such big problems? Now, let's talk about Nikki Haley, a Republican presidential candidate who refuses to say whether Donald Trump should be disqualified from the GOP's 2024 nomination. Experts warn that her refusal to condemn Trump's violent rhetoric signals a growing tolerance for authoritarian violence within the Republican Party. Well, Nikki, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. In the meantime, maybe we should all invest in some earplugs. And finally, let's talk about KSI, the YouTuber who has changed the face of boxing. From class clown to rapper to boxer, KSI has certainly made a name for himself. He may have faced criticism from boxing purists, but his fights have attracted a new audience and exposed established boxers to a wider fan base. Plus, he's now an entrepreneur with his own promotion company and an energy drink. Not bad for a guy who started out playing FIFA on YouTube. Maybe I should start filming myself playing video games. Nah, who am I kidding? I'd rather stick to observing the world from the comfort of my 6 degrees bubble. And there you have it, folks. Another day, another dose of news from around the world. So, what are your thoughts on these stories? Do you agree with Glen Matlock's disappointment? What about the situation in Israel and Gaza? And how do you feel about KSI's impact on boxing? I want to hear from you. So, leave a comment, ask a question, and let's keep the conversation going. As always, I'm Dr. Six, and I'll see you next time in the 6 Degrees world. Stay curious, my friends. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.